What's up, flooring family? Welcome to the huddle. We're here every Tuesday at 3 o'clock to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. We have some special guests with us today. I'll call it the ladies of Wi-Fi. Andrea, Crystal's on. We may have a couple more joining us as well. With me, as always, Mr. Daniel. And
Jose's here. I think he's getting water or something right now.
I was going to say, and his brother that's not there, Jose from Preferred Flooring.
He's lost a lot of weight.
So today, what we're going to go through is, women in flooring. It's been a topic here on the huddle before, and I'll introduce our guests here and let them tell a bit about themselves. Andrew, you want to kick us off and let us know a little bit about you?
Sure. Andrea Blackburn, and I'm here in Dalton, Georgia, the carpet capital of the world. And I am the executive director of the Floor Covering Industry Foundation, and I am a board member on the Women in Floor Covering nonprofit.
Awesome. So that's what Wi-Fi stands for, Women in Floor Covering Industry?
Yes, Women in the Floor Covering Industry, yes.
Awesome. Shannon, welcome to the huddle. Would you like to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Shannon Vogel, and I'm the owner of a social media company called Reach Social that specializes in the flooring industry. And I'm on here today because I think we're going to talk about mentoring, and Crystal Sims is someone that I've been mentoring for a little over a year now, and excited to have this conversation.
Awesome. Crystal, welcome. This is not your first trip on the huddle, but you want to chime in and say hi to the guests?
Hi. Sorry, I'm still on the job site right now. Yeah.
Like a true warrior.
Yeah.
What's the job site?
Are you embarrassed about your
show you the job site?
You're embarrassed about your coworkers. That's why you don't want to have them on video.
They probably have their butt cracks hanging out.
They're flooring people.
That's par for the flooring industry.
It's a standard issue.
The mess right now.
Crystal's
getting ready to clean up.
Taking us on location.
Okay, sorry. You can.
Basement.
No.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you,
already knows
Crystal.
me.
So a little bit about Wi-Fi, maybe origin story. How did this come to be?
Yeah. So Emily Finkel, who some of you may know, she is a design professional in the flooring industry and had a long career at Shaw Industries, and then retired and started her own curated collection of flooring and interiors called Emily Morrow Home. And then she recently has taken a position as a vice president in the design area at Engineered Floors. But Emily started Wi-Fi, was her idea, and I think their first conversation was with Tanya Kern, who's one of our friends that's an editor of Floor Trends magazine, and they were kind of the first two that was like, we should start a nonprofit that can really pull women together, can provide opportunities for networking, education, and really highlight flooring as a fun and engaging, profitable career for women. And from there, they started to recruit people to join the board. I had known Emily for several years because we both are from the Dalton, Georgia area, and worked with her on a previous nonprofit and women's group for a different non-industry nonprofit. And she invited me to join the board along with several other women, and we started working on putting together the organization, its structure. It's 501c3, and the rest is history, I guess.
So it's a nonprofit to promote women in flooring of all different areas, from like Crystal installer to some manufacturing reps and possibly even tech reps, and just women in flooring in general, correct?
retailers, distributors all across the industry.
Awesome. And you guys have a mentoring program within Wi-Fi. Is that also correct?
Yes,
And
we just launched our first cohort of the mentoring program. It's in an adult to adult match. So it's centered around professional and personal development. I think for me, when I think of mentoring, I always think of like big brothers, big sisters, like you're going to have a fifth grader you're going to go eat lunch with. This is not that. This is an adult friend. And that's why I was so glad Shannon was able to get on to talk about her relationship with Crystal. But I think that we've had a lot of interest. The form is live on the Wi-Fi website, so you can sign up to be a mentor or a mentee. It's a 6-month match. And as part of the intake process, you can specify your skills that you have to offer, what you think that others could glean from you. And then if you're a mentee, how you would like to grow professionally. And so we have a committee.
And so do you match on
meet.
the skill of the mentor and the need of the mentee?
Yes.
Well, you're on the right podcast. That's what we do at Go Career with flooring installers. How about that?
Oh, well,
That's cool.
there we go.
So
yeah.
That's with the rise of some, I'd say, awareness that people like Crystal have brought to our industry, that it's a viable profession, whether it's installer, running social media for dealers or companies. It sounds like a really good opportunity for women to get guided through the process of maybe this industry in a creative but also very rewarding way. So Shannon, you want to give us some background to how you met Crystal and how that all came to be, and you're a mentor for Crystal?
Yeah, so it's kind of a cool story. I was asked to be an ambassador for Tice at a newcomers meeting, and I came in, and I think Jose actually started the conversation and planted a seed. And then Jim Aaron from FCEF and I started talking about, we had some things in common being from South Carolina, and something just sparked where Daniel was the third piece. And he said, you really should go meet my sister. I feel like there's some synergies there. And Crystal was about to do her competition the next day. And she was struggling a little bit with public speaking and, just all the things that we struggle with, being seen in public and being heard and using your voice. And just the stars aligned. And I was like, girl, sit down a minute. I got 10 things I'm going to tell you right now. If you remember 2, you're going to do better than you did before we had this conversation. I don't know where this is going. So I gave her all of these tips on public speaking and just whatever was in my heart at that moment. And she just looked at me and she goes, my brother told me I need a mentor. And I think you're the one. Would you be willing to be my mentor? And literally, it was the stars aligning for the perfect relationship that had somebody called me and said, hey, you need to call this girl and be her mentor, I would have been like, yeah, I probably don't have time for that right now. But her energy and enthusiasm and willing to grow and learn just lit my soul on fire. And we meet, whether it's once a week, once a month, however often we both can, we jump on a Zoom and we have, what's funny is I thought, well, I can't be her mentor because I don't have a degree in that. I don't have a certificate for that. I don't have a checklist for that. And she was like, I'm not expecting a checklist. I just want help. So we have no agenda. We just start talking about whatever is going on. And what is so crazy and cool is that there are times where I'm the teacher and there's sometimes where she's the teacher. And 9 times out of 10, we are going through the exact same thing, having the same experience, the same struggles. We're different ages from different states. We do completely different jobs in the industry, but we have so much in common. And just watching her growth and progress and how fast she learns and has evolved, I'm in full support of the Wi-Fi mentoring program and anything that I can do to contribute to that process, because watching how much Crystal has grown and how much I have grown from Crystal's experience is, it really is one of the greatest joys of what I do.
Yeah, it must be real satisfying to have, not just to mentor somebody, but to have that connection like that.
Right. Because on the outside looking in, right, you said that it's adults and it's not like a 5-year-old sitting at a lunch table, but I've seen it. They become 5-year-olds sitting at a lunch table, just having fun.
And then we try to drag you into our lunch table, and I swear I'm going to change my last name to Vogel-Gonzalez-Park Sims. That family has welcomed me in and been super vulnerable and just generous with their heart and information. And I think we've all grown in a lot in a short period of time.
We don't know any other way, to be honest. Like, you got to kind of wear who you are on your sleeve, right? If you're trying to hide something, you're still trying to hide. And the idea is not to hide. The idea is to be yourself, out in the open, wide open, full throttle, all day, every day.
Well, that's a real attribute that you guys have, to be honest with you, is you open up, you're very transparent with the way that you approach business. I mean, that's what attracted me to you guys, and we became friends. And it's that when those synergies happen, it's pretty special. And Crystal, do you have time to chime in on what Shannon said about your guys' kind of gearing up and becoming friends and the mentor process with her?
I always have time to talk about Shannon. Yeah, just like she said, the night we met, it was really, I think that was the first day of the competition, the day we met. And I was just in a really tough spot mentally because it was a lot to process that day. And still to this day, what I use one of the pieces of advice that she gave me, and that was when you're feeling scared or nervous, or fear is setting in, write those fears down on a piece of paper, and when you walk into wherever you're going, throw it in the trash and leave it there. And for some reason, I did that the next day, and I came in with a whole new attitude. And ever since then, it's like she said, everything, the way that we connect is extremely special, and the way that she connects with my entire family and anybody she comes around, to be honest.
I love Shannon too.
Right. It's very popular.
Right. It's been a really neat experience to have that mentor. Like I told Daniel, I think that day, that I realized that he was my mentor, that, for the last 8-9 years, whatever it had been. And I was like, I really am looking for something. I was looking for something more deep, more personal, a guidance of a woman who's strong and powerful. And when I met Shannon, it was just like, this is everything I need. And yeah, that night I asked her to be my mentor. And I think that it's extremely powerful to have someone walk alongside you in life, and for us to be complete strangers and be completely comfortable with each other. It's been really life-changing for both of us, I would say.
I can tell that you guys were ever strangers, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know. I don't know how many past lives we've known each other. One cool thing to add on to that was Crystal, one of the things we talked about early on was she was like, I don't want Daniel to feel like he's not good enough or not enough to be my mentor. And I was like, girl, don't put all that pressure on me. Go have 5. He's got things to teach you that I can't teach you. I'm going to teach you things he can't teach you because he hasn't been a woman in this industry. If you're lucky enough to have 5 people walking alongside you and helping you, more power to you. It's not a me versus Daniel, because we have so many different things to contribute.
Yeah, that's a good point. Many times, just as a note with mentoring, I went through different business coaches and different mentors myself, and oftentimes having a couple, I had a mentor teaching me how to copyright, because I couldn't write an email to save my life in my mid-20s, and I was growing my business, and so I reached out to someone who teaches copywriting, and they had a very specific skill set and a very specific way of teaching me that. Point is that often we need more than just, that one point of view or that one angle. And I would assume that in being a woman in the construction field, flooring in particular, that comes with its own bit of challenges. Can you guys speak to some of those challenges that you faced and how you overcame them?
Ooh, y'all turn me loose. I'll get on this one.
Well, you've only got like 15 minutes, so
yeah, I got to jump in a minute. If you want, I'll start.
Go ahead.
So I started in flooring in a family business in a small town. And I'll never forget things. And I am not bashing guys at all. I am team, I'm all friends with guys. I'm not putting anybody down or put anybody in an off light. But I had a rep come in and I said, hey, I've got this big commercial project. I'm really proud of it. It's a ton of square footage. It was a great product. I wasn't beating them up for price. I was just like, I need my price. And I thought, well, that looked kind of high. So I go to my father, who I was not allowed to call dad. I had to call him Steve because no special treatment. Because, if you're in a family business, it's twice as hard.
Yeah.
Try being a female family business with, all men in your family. And the rep gave my dad and my ex-husband a better price than he gave me. And I was like, do you think we don't talk to each other? So that's one part we can talk about. The second is when I go to a trade show, like I do everything in my power just to shake things up in general anyway. So I'll go get on stage or do whatever it is that I'm doing, and I'll wear a really nice, fancy pants Nordstrom suit and really nice expensive shiny shoes. And then I'll start talking, and then I'll take off my jacket and people see my tattoos, and then they see my funny colored hair, and then they honestly look at my chest and they can't reconcile what's happening, and they start talking to me differently. And then if I've been home recently and my Southern accent comes out, then they'll start talking to me like I'm stupid. And it is my superpower to flip it around and just say like the most intelligent thing I could possibly muster to come up with, and then literally watch their brain not be able to reconcile what's happening. So the whole idea of talking to me like I'm less than or dumber because I'm a woman just makes no sense. Especially, I've got 25 years of experience in this industry, and I've done every job there is except being a rep. I know my shit. So yeah, those are my two soapboxes to get us going.
Well, that's a good push down the hill right there. Andrea, what about you? And have you, and I get it. This is not meant to be a man bashing thing. That's not the purpose. Most of the time it's a matter of lack of exposure and lack of knowledge, right? They're not stupid, just a bit ignorant to the dynamics in working with women, specifically in a construction industry. We have a lot of general contractors over the last 15 years. You have a pretty good chance of having a female project manager or a female project engineer, or even superintendents. But so I feel like that the path is getting better on this, but a lot of that still happens.
For sure. I think that it faces probably a lot of industries and a lot of workplaces. I have spent my career working in fundraising and nonprofits, and spend a lot of time on the board side, and your boards tend to be heavier male than female. And so that, you're dealing with executive level people who are primarily male. Lots of times they're can be significantly older than you. And so I think that the dynamics of that is just being aware of different people's communication styles that may be related to their gender and may be related to the area of their country. I've been with the Floor Covering Industry Foundation for almost 6 years now, and it was my first experience with having a board that was remote and spread across the country. And so people talk different. People have different ways that they interact than people do in the South. And definitely the gender, it can be easy to interpret something as targeted at you in a certain way because of your gender, but there's also a lot of other variables that lead people to how you experience them. And so one of the things that I have kind of as a saying in our family is always assume somebody's doing their best. And it really takes it off the plate of feeling like that you are not getting something that you deserve. It may be that someone else just has a different perspective. One of the things with women, I'm sure that y'all have heard this statistic or out there on the internet, that if there's a job listing and there's 10 different criteria for that job, that women feel like they have to have all 10 of them to apply for it, whereas men will feel like they have to have 2 or 3, and they feel like they're qualified and they should apply for it. And so I think that one of the things that I thought was really interesting about Crystal and Shannon's relationship is that they're not in the same sector, and just how powerful it is to be able to realize your skill set and how it might be transferable to a different part of the industry. And also to have someone who's cheerleading you, you know, who's in your back corner, who's like, you know what, you could do that. You could do this. Crystal, you can stand up in front of an audience and speak. I just saw her do that at Tice, and she was great. And I think that those connections, it's kind of like feeling like that you've, with a mentor, that you have a cheerleader, or that you have a coach that you can really be honest with about your insecurities. And there's some safe space there. Maybe you don't want to say to your boss what you think your weaknesses are, but your mentor creates that space where you feel like that you can be vulnerable, that you can talk about things that you want to do different, where you can share experiences and how they can help you workshop how to make those go better next time. So I don't have a ton of great stories about in charity and nonprofit, you know, people lots of times are their best selves. So I've had some really good work environment and some good folks surrounding me. But it's also been just really cool to see this group of women launch this group and really see the enthusiasm around it.
Well, I think a lot of it boils down to awareness. I was talking, I've got a friend that's a male nurse. I mean, he's a guy, and he's not getting, it's not a sexist thing. It's just when you see a male nurse and he's got hairy arms and he's got really hairy arms, it's like, it's just, it's not always like, obviously with some of the stuff you pointed out, Shannon, was clearly that way, but I'm saying first perception sometimes is just somebody in a position that we don't recognize as normal, and so we act weird about it. The truth is that humans can do a lot of different things in general, and it's your own personal desire of what you want to do in the world, right? So if you want to be a male nurse, be a male nurse. If you want to be a female flooring installer, bring it on, right? So Crystal, I wanted to ask you a question. I know that you and Shannon obviously hit it off right away, but with you come off a little shy sometimes, right? And you may have been. How did you overcome that to ask Shannon to be your mentor? I believe that would have taken some courage.
It did, and I was extremely nervous and I was shaking, but where that's where I needed growth. And so I can't grow if I'm scared to even ask those simple questions. And that's definitely something she's shown me.
Well,
and even I,
the family, so sorry.
Yeah, we've actually established that I'm extremely introverted, which I didn't even know, surprisingly. But even those first couple meetings that we had together, I was a little bit hesitant to be myself, I guess, but lost that pretty quick. Now I'm just crazy. I think she would agree.
Crazy, amazing. It's cool when we do video calls and you'll watch Crystal get a light bulb, and then when she gets her notebook out and she starts writing it down, I'm like, that sat with her, that resonated, that's going to come back. Let's keep working on that. And one of the things that we talk about when she gets one of those light bulb moments is the world's going to give you a lot of practice opportunities once you're open to that lesson that you're about to learn. So this is not all fun and games. It's not all easy. It's not all, you know, sunshine and rainbows. It's hard work, but that hard work is paying off. And really, I think, like I said, her growth is just incredible to watch.
So right there, Shannon, you said the hard work, right? And I just kind of want to add, piggyback off of your guys' interpretation of being a woman in the industry is, you know, it almost sounds like history just keeps repeating itself over and over, right? When you come from, the times when segregation was coming in and people of color were coming in, because, I didn't live through that part, right? I was on the back end of that for sure, 80s. But coming into the flooring industry for me was kind of the same. It wasn't in the same instance, right? But we still had to face diversity coming in because I wasn't respected as a leader. I wasn't respected as the guy running the crew because I was a Hispanic male. And usually people of my demographic didn't speak English and they were doing drywall. They weren't leading crews of guys twice their age and actually better than them. So it was different coming in. So I think even from now into the next 20 years, we're going to have to start over with another demographic coming in and being the first and being the first group to establish themselves and set precedents the way that women are starting to do. I want to say women have been doing it for years, but now it's like everywhere. If nobody has got their own individual platforms to speak their voice and to stand up for one another, then I think that's weird to me. But just so you guys know, I think we're going to keep repeating this, and I would love.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not as much as you think, if we can start thinking like Andrea just spoke, which is assume that people are doing
Right.
their best work and
Yeah.
assume the good first, like assume that it's a good male nurse, assume that it's a good female installer.
People just have to be
assume
more
that it's-
open-minded, right? They have to be more open-minded because even at times when gentleman approached me and he's like, I don't even understand this whole women in flooring thing, because I was like, we were over here today and he's like, I don't understand that. Like, why can't everyone just be equal? And it's like, you do realize that is the entire goal. So like, come on, man. Like, just have an open mind. You can't say, oh, I respect what they're doing, but I just don't understand it and I don't want it to be like this. It's like, if just come in with an open mind, let everyone balance themselves out, and that the only way to do that is programs like this, where it's putting people in the spotlight and saying, we are equal, we are here, let's start treating it as such, so that way years down the road it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, it addresses the awareness part of it. That's really the whole goal. If it's not as if you're trying to form your separate group to then segregate yourself away from men in flooring. The whole idea, I would assume, is like bring awareness to the fact that, hey, we're just because we're women, we are really good at this shit too. And we can, we got an installer that almost has competed in installer of the year. We have plenty of examples of sales reps and leaders and people like Shannon. Do you own your own company doing the social media? Do you work for someone?
Here goes your plug,
own
Shannon, right before you leave.
I
So
do.
you're a
I do own
business.
my own company. I'm about to turn into a pumpkin. I have to jump off, but thank you all so much for this conversation. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it. And if there's another one, sign me up. I love this group.
Tell us quickly how people can find you, like social wise.
You can find me anywhere on social media. Shannon, my maiden name is Bilby, Bilby Vogel. I've got the same picture everywhere. It's short hair, is probably blonde. I've got a full sleeve of tattoos. Shannon at reachsocial.media. But yeah, I'm all over the internet. So just find me anywhere and reach out, connect. Even if we don't know each other, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'm happy to
Probably knows you. She probably knows you.
to put you in my community.
Awesome.
Right,
Thanks for
having
joining
me.
us today,
Thanks for
Shannon,
being on.
and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all. Take care.
Thanks.
So one thing I do want to add is, going to the women's portion and sitting in and watching how they interact. Any men out there listening who are having a hard time accepting that we have to, as a group, come together, man, women are so empowering of not
Of
only
each
one
other.
another, but
Yeah.
everything, like all encompassing, right? Like some of the guys out there, oh, women's empowerment this, women's empowerment that. You know what? No, it's empowerment, period, because
We
the
could learn a lot
perspective-
from them, to be
the
honest, in the
perspective-
way
the
that they
perspective,
support each other.
Like when they asked me why I was there, I said, I'm here to learn from people that are smarter than me. And there's a lot of people there that are smarter than me. So I was learning a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Well, I guess what I was getting at is that a lot of times you get men will tear each other down, specifically in installation. And we might step back and learn a valuable lesson of what it's like to support one another. We promote that a lot on this podcast, the huddles of, it's like we're a big family in a huddle, and it's about supporting one another. There's no need to tear each other down. Like, let's try to get better as an industry. That's gonna, the old rising tide,
Lifts all
raises all ships. So
I-
like, that's the attitude we should have. So
I also,
go
sorry,
ahead,
I just
Crystal.
wanted to kind of piggyback off of that too. I was going to say that that's one of the reasons women have these conferences and things, because we like to empower each other. And like Daniel's experience, how there was a gentleman who didn't understand it. We are oftentimes not understood. On that, or understood.
understood. I'm gonna clip that out and make a sound bite out of that. We are not understanded.
That's a new shirt for
Whatever.
us.
But that, and I really thought it was cool that I think there were maybe 5 guys that ended up coming to the women's conference in Las Vegas. And all of the women there were super excited for that support. And it would be really cool if more men showed up to just kind of get an idea of how we empower each other and the things that we can do to make the world a better place, and assume that everyone's doing their best.
And I think that's a misconception, right? It's just the information isn't out there, because you hear a women's conference and you think, oh, it's just going to be all women, but and then
like men aren't allowed or something.
Small print right at the bottom, everyone is invited, So I signed everyone up, and we had a great time there. And we tried to go to the next one, the women's breakfast, and they were like,
Got the boot.
yeah, they were like, oh, whoa, this is for women only. So
I'm pretty sure I let y'all in.
you did.
I did.
But it was
yeah.
the other Crystal, right? She was like, it's
Okay.
women only. And by the time it was like, you guys can come in, it's like, you know what? You guys want your moment? We will give you your moment. Just know that we're over here supporting you too.
And for the record, that's the second time I got kicked out of one. The first time was when my sister was in the competition. I went to it wasn't like what you had going up. I went to the women's event just to represent her. And I walked in, I'll never forget. I walk in and everybody just stops talking and stares at me. I said, hi. My sister Crystal, she can't be here. And then chatter just kind of commenced. But I'm really good at putting myself in uncomfortable situations like that just to bring awareness.
Well, frankly, I think that the guys should be able to go in and say hi and show their support. I think it would do nothing but help when we come together. Again, what I said earlier, I assume none of us are really wanting to segregate ourselves away from each other. I think there's too much of that in the world as we witness, if you watch enough news, which I try to stay away from. But fact is that, coming together and learning from different cultures and different upbringings and different pasts, that's how we grow as people. It's certainly been a big influence in my life with different people that I've gotten to, have the pleasure of mentoring me. The whole reason you find a mentor is because of their past experiences, that they can bring, some knowledge and light to you. I mean, that's the whole point. So I did want to ask you, Andrew, the floor covering, the FCIF. Tell us a bit about that. What's that about? How does that play into what you do?
Sure. I'll be happy to shift and talk about that a little. I did want to say one thing just to piggyback on what y'all are talking about, which is I feel like in this day and age with the labor shortage, I know myself with my team, it's like we can't afford to not build up our team members, because if we don't, they'll find somebody else who will. And so I just feel like it's such an important business practice to make sure that you're creating a culture that is where your people want to be. And if your people are, people that have different skin colors or different genders, or they're people that have small children and whatever it is, I feel like in this day and age, we really have to keep the talent connected to our organization. We have to be flexible and make spaces comfortable for everyone. And programs like these mentoring programs or other programs in the industry, if there's not something that you feel like is really helping you make your staff feel engaged, you need to find something as a leader that can make them feel engaged, because if not, they'll get gone. So I feel like that's so important.
I think jumping on there too is, training opportunities and helping employees and staff in growth and trying to have advancement opportunities and those types of deals. As far as, working with different individuals' needs at a company, you could there's probably podcasts that are just dedicated to that. It's such a deep subject, but from a surface level, I would say employees are important, the most important piece of a business. I mean, the rest of it's just brick and mortar and, equipment. It's the people do have to, they're the ones that make the wheels turn. So yeah, I think that all that's important as well.
So kind of related to your employees and thinking about how you can help people with whatever's going on in their life. So my day job is that I work with the Floor Covering Industry Foundation, and it's been around for 41 years. And it is a 501c3 that was started to help people that have catastrophic medical conditions who work in the floor covering industry. It can also be their household family members as well. And we have 3 criteria for assistance. The first one is your serious medical condition. It could also be an injury that takes you out of work for a couple months. Could be that you have a child that was born with disabilities and you need medical equipment or special therapies. We help a lot of people that have late stage cancer. Sometimes families have an elderly parent that's now living with them, and maybe they need a bathroom made handicap accessible. Or it could just be that their medical condition has caused them to not have the same income that they'd had before, and now they can't afford their medical treatments. And so maybe we're helping provide medical care or even helping pay people's rent or mortgage. So all kinds of different things. So the medical assistance, the medical piece is the first criteria. The second one is that you have to be financially stressed. And we don't go by federal poverty guidelines, which is what a lot of nonprofits do. Instead, we look at the actual situation in the past 2 months for the family. And if their expenses are higher than their income, then we usually can help them as long as they don't have a lot of other liquid assets. And then the third criteria is employment in the floor covering industry, which has to be 5 or more years. And if they're not currently employed, then they couldn't have left more than 5 or more years unless it was because they're retired or their disability or injury put them out of work.
So does this apply to 1099 installers that may have, that's how they operate in the flooring industry?
Sure.
May not have health insurance, maybe not.
Sure.
Okay.
And this is something that,
awesome.
I don't think a lot of people really know about, right? I'm like, for my birthday was in November, and Facebook asks you, do you want to have people donate to a cause? And I'm like, yes. And that's my first thought was the FCIF. So I put it on there, and there was actually, I think I got over $300 donated by people.
I remember that.
And it's like that kind of stuff is awesome. And I think a lot of them were actually in the industry. So it's like, not only are we coming on here talking about the industry and saying, support each other, we're donating and supporting each other that way too. And we just have to get the word out, because I think a lot of installers, they wait too long, right? And it's too late. And it's like, if you know about it right now, you have to set your pride aside and know that, hey, I need help, and this is an organization that could help me out.
Yeah,
For sure.
tell us how does it, obviously you kind of gave the criteria. How does it work? I'm an installer. I have an injury that's going to prevent me from doing my job for the next,
Mhm.
2 months or something. I go to a website.
Sure. So our website is the acronym for our organization. So it's FCIF for Floor Covering Industry Foundation.org. And we have an application, which is a longer form, and then we have an inquiry form, which is a short one-page document. And that's the best way to start the conversation with us, so that we can learn more about your situation, see if you probably will be a good fit for the program. That way we can make sure before you go through all the trouble of filling out a long form and sending in all of your supporting documents that we feel like that it's going to be a good fit. And then we review your, income and expenses, medical bills that you have, and verify your conditions and your employment. Most of our grants are for 6 months, and then they can be renewed. And so your grant would specify, all of them are different. Most commonly, it's for medical care. So it would be a check for you to pay for your doctor bills, and it could be yours that we anticipate coming, or lots of times people are behind at the point that we get involved. So they're to help make payments on existing medical bills that they have. And then after 6 months, you could turn in your paperwork showing that you spent the grant as intended, and then you can reapply for us. So it's
So we'll
a pretty
add this.
pretty big program.
We'll add this to the description when we post this on YouTube for the FCIF.org. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll post that in the description of this video. So there's also, I assume, a way for individuals who have some means to go on and donate.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
We raise just under $1 million every year, and we have donors that are individual people just like us, to large corporate donors that are manufacturers, that are trade media, distributors, people all across the industry. And so whether it's, you can give $50 or you can give 5,000, every little bit helps and is going to turn around and impact a family that's part of our flooring family.
Do you have a number of, an average or an approximate amount of families that you guys help a year?
Yeah, I think that I didn't look at it before I got on the call. I know we had close to 150 families apply last year, and probably a little bit under 100 that we helped. So people apply with us that, don't meet the qualifications for whatever reason. Our average grant that's paid over 6 months is around $9,000. So that's going directly to a family.
Wow.
So it's pretty impactful. So while we,
Sure.
don't help thousands and thousands of people, the families that we do assist, we're really helping them in a pretty financially transformative way.
Yeah, that's a big help for someone who, get you through 6 months of rent, save your mortgage. That's meaningful money.
Right. And that's why I said try and get there, if you know it's going to get to that point, that's where the inquiry form comes in, right? Because it's like, start doing it before you start losing everything instead of after everything is already gone.
Yeah, for those in the audience, I mean, we'll have the link to the description in our description below. Like, support one another. This is what it looks like. If you got a few $100 extra, go in and donate. It's helping a family. I can tell you one thing that's, I want to say unique, but honestly, I've been in flooring since I got out of high school. So I'm not sure of other industry, but, I know there's other organizations that do some of this, not necessarily right through grants, but I remember being at a CFI convention once, and an installer friend of mine had just lost his son the day before. And he was 18 years old, and you know, there's obvious medical expenses and things that funeral costs and stuff. And, you know, the CFI came up and gave me, I believe, if I remember, like $1,200 to give to him, as that they had gathered at they had, you know, it had just gotten around. I mean, we do care about one another in our industry is what I'm getting at. And this is a way, if you do care, that you can support others that you may not have direct contact with, but it can make a big impact in someone's life. So I encourage you to check them out in the description below, and you can kind of see some of the, you know, is there some examples on there on people's
I'm actually on the website right now, and they do have a link for stories right on there. So it's you know, they have different links, you know, their history, give, do you qualify, and then stories right there. So you can go on there and see some of the stories that people have actually, you know, they've gone through the process and how it's probably helped them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, plugging on through to we're coming close on time here. I do want to make sure to you know, give a special thank you to Andrea and Crystal and Shannon who joined us. It's great to hear some of this, some of the relationships that get built through the industry and how we're pulling together to solve some complicated problems. But in closing, I wanted to ask you, Andrea, you know Crystal?
I do. So Crystal is one of our volunteers with Wi-Fi, and she is on our committee that's launching our mentoring program. And then Crystal and I and these guys, we all just hung out in Shannon in Vegas together. So
nice. Is Crystal going to become a mentor?
Crystal asked me if people could be a mentor and a mentee, and I said, "You're an overachiever, aren't you? You want to do both at the same time."
She's taking notes and transferring them down. Look,
That's what it's all about, though. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. Crystal will have to speak for herself what she wants to commit to, but our program is 6 months, and then people can continue that relationship, you know, however they want after that. But the program is structured with monthly content for 6 months. And so I would suggest that people, you know, if they want to be a mentor and then later be a mentee, to maybe do one at a time to start out with.
Now, this
and then
might,
they can keep on afterwards.
There's some structure around it initially.
now, would you guys happen to have a mentor program for a gentleman to be mentored by a female to help understand perspective?
Well, I will put that on the brainstorm list, but we only have one mentor program right now, but we haven't said that men are excluded.
I mean, even if it's like a group, right?
Right. Like,
yeah.
I think that could be valuable. I will say that when we were at, I forget, maybe it was one of the conferences at Women in Flooring kind of table. A lot of guys don't know how to even interact, and it's not that anybody's trying to be sexist or anything like that. Just like, how do you approach different scenarios? I had posted the problem to the table, like, well, how do I run ads without, you know, if I want specifically women to come in to my company and become installers, how do I run ads without coming off sexist in the very first place? And so they address that. It's those kinds of things, maybe not a mentor-mentee situation, but at the least almost like our message to the industry, you know, at the end of that 6 months or something would be cool for people like me that, you know, I still need to learn.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to learn.
Is there
finding a way to approach it would be great.
Is there a cost to the program, or is everything included in the membership?
So to join Wi-Fi as an individual member, it's $150 a year. And then lots of companies have made large corporate donations and have chosen part of that donation to be sponsorship of their employees. But yes, anybody can join on the website to be a member of Wi-Fi. And then the mentoring program is just one of the benefits of being a member.
Oh, sweet. Good and affordable on top of that.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's bringing us to the end of the podcast. I want to thank the guests again, everybody who participated. Thank you to the people in the background, Ashlyn, and I know that Daniel and Jose kind of helped, coordinate to make this happen. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad that we were able to get everybody on and kind of, further the ball down the field on. Since it's called the huddle, I'm always using football analogy. Sorry,
I was
but
totally expecting this guy to be decked out today, by the way.
so moving that ball down the field on, opening up this dialogue on how we can, better accept. I do want to mention one more time what you said that really stood out to me is assume people are doing their best and trying their best, and that they deserve to be in the position or what they're doing. I think that goes across the board, whether it was me when I started installing at 19 or Daniel's story about looking like he was 10 when he was installing. And, all those things, just assume people are doing their best and that they deserve to be in that position. So.
Yeah. And then I just you don't realize how much this industry supports we support each other, right? We got FCIF, we got the Wi-Fi mentoring program now, women supporting the women. And once you started talking about that, it took me back to just this last CFI convention to where they have raffles and stuff, and you see everyone putting in for these raffles. And I think almost every single prize that was won by someone that's been in the industry for a while went to someone that was new.
To give it, yeah.
That's cool.
You see these kids in there and they're like, I really need a stretcher. And then someone wins a stretcher, and then you see them hand it off right away, no questions asked. You need this, this is going to help you out. So I really like that aspect of our industry, is that we support each other. And, I'm grateful for everyone that listens and, that supports us in what we're trying to do here. We got Jeremy and Jorge on here. They're always on, and, just it's amazing the support system that we have. And I'm really glad that we have that.
Yeah, well said. And speaking of support, if you want to support this podcast, if you're viewing it in whatever platform, consider giving us a like, subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us. We get a lot of people that I would have never thought was listening to us and attending, that come up to me and said, yeah, I see you guys, I see you on the podcast. I love the show. The guys are awesome. And so if you like the content that you're receiving and you want to support us a little bit, just consider hitting like and subscribe
and share with everyone,
and then share. Yeah. do it all right, guys. Well, thank you guys again, Daniel and Jose, for joining. Crystal, thank you for joining on location. That had to be an extra challenge. And Andrea, thank you so much for being on and bringing to light a couple of these organizations that I think we should all consider supporting.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's been great, and it's great to see everybody else again so soon after our trip to Tice, but I look forward to working with you all.
Awesome. Okay, well, signing out. We'll see you guys later, and thanks again.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Crystal.
Okay, bye.